The Euro Yard is here because we actually have something to talk about with regards to the 2026 Eurovision Song Contest. Now, I know on this channel, and you should watch all our past videos, by the way, that we do like to talk about past contests and rank them, but we're going to be talking plenty too about current contests and national finals. National final season, at the time we did this recording, is very, very close to beginning. Starting with Albania and then Montenegro. So we're going to have more on the 2026 contest because let me tell you, the 2026 contest could definitely be very, very interesting, both in terms of who is there and who is not there. And the news that came out today, I think, was designed to try to make sure that certain countries would be there. But we will talk about this in a minute, in that I don't necessarily think it's going to make a difference, but there are some things that were good that came out of what we just heard from the European Broadcasting Union and the organizers of the Eurovision Song Contest. They announced on Friday, the 21st of November, that there would be certain overhauls done to the voting system for the Eurovision Song Contest going forward. So we're going to go into some of the particulars about that and then break it down. So, of course, the article that we are citing, you can check it out at Eurovision's website, Eurovision.tv. It's called Voting Overhaul Announced for the Eurovision Song Contest 2026. And in that, they get into several different points. The first point that they list, it's called, and I quote, clearer rules on promotion. So you can read all of the particulars on the Eurovision website for yourself. But some of what was said under the clearer rules on promotion was that they would discourage disproportionate promotion campaigns, particularly when undertaken or supported by third parties, including governments or governmental agencies. And then it also says participating broadcasters and artists are not permitted to actively engage in, facilitate, or contribute to promotional campaigns by third parties that could influence the voting outcome. And as outlined in the updated code of conduct, any attempts to unduly influence the results will lead to sanctions. Put a pin in that. We'll come back. The second point that they raise is fewer maximum votes. It has been up until this point that if you have a specific payment method that you're using, and you can use multiple payment methods because the EBU likes its money, that you used to be able to cast up to 20 votes per payment method, but that is dropping now to 10. And they also made a point of saying in it that fans will be actively encouraged to share their support across multiple entries. Now, encourage and mandate are two different things. That doesn't necessarily mean that's going to happen, but again, we will come back to that. The thing that I think is important here is the next point, and it's that the juries are coming back for the semifinals. For the last few years, I believe since the 2023 contest, it has been all televote in the semifinals. And we've gotten some strange results with all televote. Well, the jury is coming back. It's going to be a 50-50 split. So now we will see the influence of the juries begin to come back into the semifinals. And I think you're going to probably end up having some different countries in there than you otherwise would have if it was strictly televote. But again, we'll come back to that at the end. And the last point that they brought up is that they want, quote, enhanced technical safeguards. And what they mean by that is advanced security systems which detect and prevent fraudulent or coordinated voting activity and strengthen monitoring of suspicious patterns to maintain trust in the results of the audience vote. Okay, so that is what the EBU has announced that they're doing for 2026. So let's go through them point by point again. So first, I told you what they were. Now I'm going to tell you why it's happening and if it's going to actually make a difference. So the first one, clearer rules on promotion. This is because there was an article that came out, I believe it was by the EBU, by an EBU source, that said something to the effect of the Israeli government was involved in directly advertising on behalf of their act in 2025, an ad campaign. And there were some broadcasters, participating broadcasters, that complained about that. Well, this is what it's in response to. I think that this was partially done to calm the countries that are not too thrilled with Israel's participation in the contest, to kind of hold people down and say, look, they might be at the contest, but they're not going to be able to do that. And in fact, nobody's going to be able to do that anymore. So fewer maximum votes. Again, it's because of what's been happening the last couple of years, where the televote has been heavily skewed towards particular countries. And there have been allegations of manipulation of the televote. And that actually goes into the last point that we talked about, strengthening the security systems, because there have been some broadcasters that wanted their results audited. There have been some broadcasters that felt like something funny was going on with regards to the televote just being very, very heavily slanted in certain directions. So 2 and 4 together, I think, are directly related. At some point during the Eurovision offseason, I was planning to do a video calling, if they brought back the semifinal juries, would it make any difference in the actual result? And I never got to make it because they actually did bring it. So let's kind of incorporate that in right now. So semifinal juries went away with the 2023 contest. It's been televote only for the last 3. There are songs that you would call jury bait that exist. Song maybe like Slovenia in 2025. How much time do we have left? That is jury bait. That is tearjerker bait. It didn't get through the semifinal. Maybe a song like that, with the jury getting 50% of the vote, maybe a song like that gets through if this is in place in 2025. I don't know. It's possible. And in fact, I will say this too, in going back, the peril with going back to the last couple of contests and thinking about, well, maybe if the jury was there, this song would have gone through or that song would have gone through. It's like, we really don't know. We really don't know, because if those songs didn't make it, then the juries didn't vote on them in the final, and we don't know how they would have done, and we'll never know how they would have done. So while you can think out loud about, well, maybe a song like Slovenia this past year, maybe that would have made it if the jury was there, we're never going to know. So we can only take that example so far. But what I can tell you, what had been happening in the last couple of years, is that there were some very, very televote friendly songs that were getting through to the final. And then some of them would just end up not doing well with the juries. And we've had some really, really crazy results in the last couple of years. And then you add this on to, for example, Israel doing very, very well with the televote, and certain national broadcasters complaining and wanting the results audited and all that. You add those two things together, and we've had some really, really crazy results the last couple of years. So I think what the EBU is trying to do here is twofold. They're trying to calm some national broadcasters down in terms of, hey, don't leave. Please don't leave. We're trying to fix this. And 2, they're trying to, I think, settle the results down into a little bit more of familiar patterns. Here's the problem. I don't know that it's really going to change anything in terms of who is going to participate in 2026. There are certain national broadcasters like Slovenia and Ireland, for example, that I think just will not be there if Israel is. And I think on your own time, or maybe another time, we can debate those merits. But the fact of the matter is that there are broadcasters that do not want to participate in the contest with them. While they may say, and I don't know if they've said this, they may say that, yeah, it's good that the EBU has made some changes, but we're still not going to be there if they are. So I don't think this is necessarily going to bring anybody back into the fold. I think there are some good elements of this that needed to be done, but I don't know that it's really going to fix anything now in terms of the participating countries. And I think the EBU knows that they might end up losing a handful of these countries, because when you've got Romania, Moldova, and Bulgaria all coming back to the contest, Some of them very surprisingly, like Bulgaria, very surprisingly coming back out of nowhere. Moldova we could have seen, but Bulgaria coming back. I think they're anticipating the loss of several countries, so they were trying to backfill the numbers a little bit with some new countries coming back. So, yeah, some good things happening here with the EBU. Don't necessarily think it's going to solve the bigger issue, which you all know what that is at this point. And I think we could still be in for a rocky 2026 contest. Hopefully not national final season. We need our national finals. If nothing else, we need our national finals. There are some just amazing contests across Europe that I still very much want to see. While these are good reforms, I think, that are coming, there's a lot more that is still on the table, unresolved. And I think until those are resolved, whether affirmatively or negatively, depending on your perspective, there are still going to be controversies around the 2026 contest. This was an effort by the EBU, I think, to head some of that off, but it's definitely not taking all the controversies off the table. So much more on the 2026 Eurovision season to come. There's going to be a lot more happening. And for more on that, Euroyard.com. Like and subscribe. Follow us on social media. We'll see you soon.